So now we're going to start with the second part or the next part of the chapter microorganisms and viruses, friend and foe. In this video, we are going to talk about the examples and classification of microorganisms. As you've probably listened and seen in the previous video that we talked about what microorganisms are. Since we now know what microorganisms are, we can talk about their various classification. We can talk about their various types, right? Now, I said it before as well that whenever we hear the terms like bacteria or a virus or a viral infection or much more like this, we are not aware of the fact that these organisms like bacteria or virus are basically what microorganisms. So that is why I've written that the examples of microorganisms are bacteria, algae, viruses, fungi, and protozoa. For anything to be called a microorganism, the first thing that it must possess is a small size, right? You might see that in the classification of microorganisms you only find four: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Only 4 classification. But here when I'm writing about the examples of microorganisms, I have listed viruses, whereas in the classification I haven't listed viruses, right? Why is this? So what is the reason that even though virus is an example of microorganisms, I do not write it in the classification? The thing is that virus, like other microorganisms, do possess the property of being very very small in size. Virus too we cannot see with our eyes, so it does somewhat possess the property or characteristics of a microorganism, but we cannot call it completely as a microorganism. We cannot call a virus as a complete microorganism. Why? Because we do know that a microorganism, by the definition of microorganism, that it is a living organism, right? That is too small to be seen. But viruses are those organisms which are practically dead, which possess both the property of a living as well as a non-living organism. They are practically dead. It is only when they are inside their host that they become a living organism. So because of this reason we cannot enlist virus in the classification of the microorganisms. Why? Even though they do possess somewhat property of being a microorganism, but because they are the combination of both living and non-living organism, we do not classify them inside the classification group of microorganisms. I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's go ahead with the classification. See, the classification of microorganisms is basically into four groups: bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoa. See, you might see that I have written just below it's bacterium, fungus, and protozoan, right? See, when we are talking about a tiny microscopic organism, we call them as bacterium, fungus, alga, and protozoan. But if we are talking about collection of tiny microscopic organisms, we call them as bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoa. So basically this is just used for singular, and this is used for plural. So if you've got a single bacteria, single tiny microscopic organism, or single tiny microscopic bacteria, you call it as bacterium. You do not call bacteria because it is just a one tiny cell. Okay, so this is used when you have a single microorganism, and when you have a collection of microorganisms, you call them as bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoa, right? So now we know what examples there are, what are the basic classification. Okay, now let's talk step by step. We will talk about each of this classification. See, let's talk first about bacteria. What a bacteria is: basically when life originated, everybody knew that yes, we know that life originated, but nobody knows or nobody can say for sure what kind of life form came into being the first, right? Which kind of life form came into being earliest, whether it was whether it was an animal life form or a plant life form, nobody knows that, right? But it is for sure that we can say that the organisms that are found today are basically the genetic mutation or of those previous life forms. So the previous life forms underwent a lot of transformation, mutations, and now we see the life form that are in the present times as their evolution, right? This is said that bacteria is basically considered to be the oldest life form. So which life form is the oldest? Bacteria. It was found that bacteria is the oldest life form found on the planet. Now, a bacteria is unicellular. By unicellular, we can say that they are made of one cell. Okay, made of one cell. So what are unicellular organisms? Unicellular organisms are organisms with only one cell, made up of only one cell. So yes, I did say that I will give a little more knowledge about the term cell, right? Let's try to understand what this cell is using an example, right? Let me say that I want to construct a house. Like, if I want to construct a house, it doesn't matter whether I want to construct a one-story house, two-story house, or a three-story house. Even if I just want to construct a single room, I will need something called brick, right? I will need something called brick. So this brick is going to help me construct my house, or my one-story building, or my two-story building, or my just one single room, right? So this brick basically will construct a room like this. So this brick is basically here what? Basic building block, right? This brick right here is basic building block. So I can say that this basic building block, which is right here as brick, will construct the whole room or whole building. Now similarly, cell is basically the same basic building block but of an organism. So these cell, basically what do? When they combine, they form an organism, right? So basically, similarly, just like here in this example, in the construction of a house, your brick is your basic building block of construction, right? So these cells are also basic building block of an organism. That means this cell, the repetition of these cells will give you a complete organism. So I hope now with this example it is very clear what cell is. Another important fact about bacteria is that they live in colonies. You will not find a single bacteria alone. They do not live alone. They are basically found in colonies. They live in colonies, right? So what are bacteria's oldest life forms? They are unicellular, live in colonies. Now let's think that what kind of food would bacteria eat, right? We all know that there are two types of organisms. There are autotrophs, like there are autotrophs, and there are heterotrophs, right? Autotrophs and heterotrophs. Now autotrophs are those organisms which prepare their own food, and you know what is the example of autotrophic organism? Plants, right? Because plants prepare their own food, and they do prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight, right? With the help of a chlorophyll and all that stuff. So now autotrophs are those organisms which prepare their own food. So what these heterotrophs are? These are those organisms which are dependent on other organisms for their food requirement, like us, right? Because we depend on plants or animals for our food requirement. So these are autotrophs and these are heterotrophs. And these bacteria, okay, this bacteria are both autotrophs as well as heterotrophs. Some bacteria are autotrophs, that is they produce their own food, while some are not. Some depend on other. So this basically concludes our bacteria part. So now we do know what bacteria are. If somebody asks us what bacteria is, we will be able to answer that this is basically considered the oldest life form, and they are unicellular, and some are autotrophs, some are not, right? And I can give you a simple example, or maybe a simple picture like this sketch. They are basically like this. Bacteria, this is a specimen. This like structure, these are bacteria, right? More clear picture will be provided in your notes. So now we have talked about bacteria. Let's talk about fungi, right? Why don't we talk about fungi? Now fungi are basically your multicellular organisms. Yes, they are made up of many types of cells. Okay, so fungi are is a multicellular organism. Do you know what kind of organism a human being is? A human being is also a multicellular organism, because we too are made up of many types of cells. So fungi is a multicellular organism, right? Now fungi are heterotrophs. Yes, they are heterotroph. That is, they do not prepare their own food. They rather depend on other organisms for their food. And how do they depend on their food, on other organisms for their food? See, how do they get food? They get food in some ways, some certain ways. Like they can get food from dead and decaying matter. From dead and decaying matter. Okay, from dead and decaying matter. Now what does this dead and decaying matter means? This dead and decaying matter means basically dead remains of plants and animals. If some plant or animal dies, then through their dead remains, or through their decaying matter, these fungi can get food, right? Another way is that in association or with help of some other organism, in association with other organism, in association with other organism. So now how does this actually works? How can in association with some other organism do they get food? What happens is that maybe fungi, where they grow, they form some kind of relationship with the other organisms. They may prove beneficial to that to some other microorganism, sorry, to some other organisms, and that organism in return provides them with food. Okay, so how this association with some organism works, that is, maybe I've got a fungi, right? Like this, right here I've got a fungi. Maybe there is some other some organism. For example, let's say that there is some plant. Maybe this fungi actually is helpful to this plant, so it may provide some benefit to it. In return, in order to pay for its help, this plant will in turn provide it this fungi food. So if this is your fungi, right, if this is your fungus, let me say fungus, right, and this is your organism, this is going your fungus is going to help your organism, and your organism in turn is going to provide food to the fungus. So that is in association with other organism, it can also get food. Fungi will also be able to get food. Now they are also parasitic in nature, and this basically parasitic nature helps them in getting food as well. See, parasitic nature means that they are also able to get food from other organism. That is, they will live as a parasite in some organism. Okay, and then they will get food from that organism in return, and when they get their nutrition from that organism, they are basically behaving as a parasite, and in turn are going to provide that organism with some kind of disease. So hence they, through their parasitic nature, also get food, right? So we've discussed about fungi. Fungi are basically multicellular. They are heterotrophs. How do they get food? They get food from dead remains of plants and animals, through some other organism by helping it, or by living as a parasite in some other organism, right? Now let's talk about protozoa, right? Protozoa are mostly unicellular. Okay, protozoa are mostly unicellular. Mostly unicellular means I cannot say that every protozoa is unicellular, but mostly they do occur as a unicellular organism, right? So it sometimes there may be some protozoa that are multicellular, but mostly you will find only a unicellular or a single cell protozoa. That means in protozoa, that single cell is going to perform every kind of function, like digestion, egestion, everything will be done by that single cell. So now they basically do not need colonies, right? They do not need colonies. They can live alone. These protozoa live alone. Okay, now you also know, one amazing fact is that these protozoa has the ability to move. They have some locomotory organ which helps them in movement. See, in case of fungi, they are immovable. They cannot move. Okay, they have no such organ that helps them in moving, but here this protozoa can basically move. They have some organ which helps them in movement. For example, amoeba is a protozoa. Even paramecia, this paramecium is a protozoa. So paramecium, I'm going to draw just a very rough sketch, is something like this, right? I've drawn a very rough sign because I simply just want to know how do they basically move. And there are something like this, and there are like here hair like structures, right? There are some hair like structures. These basically hair like structures are known as cilia, and this cilia, this hair like structure, helps the paramecium in moving. Okay, so the cilia is that organ which helps paramecia or this protozoa to move. Now similarly in amoeba, this is my rough sketch of my amoeba. Okay, I hope it's visible, right? So in this amoeba there is something called pseudopodia. Pseudopodia, right? Pseudopodia, also known as false feet. This false feet or pseudopodia will help your amoeba to move. Okay, now let's talk about algae. Let's talk about algae, right? See, you might have basically come across some kind of pond or some kind of water body in which the bottom layer or the bottom part of your water body is basically covered with green type of carpet. It appears as a green type of carpet, right? What that green type of carpet is, it is basically your algae. See, so sometimes in not in all water bodies, but in some water bodies, this algae grows, and this basically grows at the bottom surface of your water body, and it appears like a green carpet, right? So this algae can also be viewed if you go in some very old buildings, very ancient buildings, in which there isn't some kind of cleaning hasn't been done in like ages, right? You will see that the walls of that building will grow some kind of green like structure, and that green like structure is basically will be your algae, right? So basically that is your algae, that green type structure grown on the bottom surface or some damp wall of some ancient building. So these are basically multicellular organisms. Okay, these are basically some multicellular organisms. So what are the examples of basically algae? Like, we know that these are multicellular organisms, right? So are there some kind of organisms or some examples of them? Spirogyra is some example of this. Spirogyra. And we even have another which is Chlamydomonas, right? That is also another example of algae. So algae is a multicellular organism which is grown which is basically grown with what in this basically let me remind you. See, this fungi, protozoa, algae, these kind of these microorganisms, or generally every kind of most microorganisms are more suitable to grow or more suitable to live comfortably in a warm and moist climate. So maximum of or the most of the microorganisms basically prefer warm and moist climate. So algae will also prefer warm and moist climate. Similarly, protozoa also lives in warm and moist climates, and fungi as well. Like for example, let's consider the example of a bread. Just take a piece of bread and do not put inside the refrigerator. Just keep it outside at room temperature for a couple of days, right? After some days, what you will observe is that that particular piece of bread will grow some kind of gray and white structure on its surface, and you will say that my bread is now spoiled, and you will throw your bread, right? So if you do not throw that bread and just try to observe what is that which is grown, you will find that that is basically your fungi. The thing that is grown on your bread is basically fungi, also known as bread mold. We call it as bread mold, right? So and this is, you know, why your food gets spoiled. Try to observe that let's just say that you make a dry food which doesn't possess a lot of water, which has very less amount of water, right? And just prepare some other food like pulses or something, or any food which contains a lot of water. You will find that that food which is dry, which doesn't contain a lot amount of water, is going to survive for more days. It's going to survive longer as compared to that food which contains water. Why? Because most of the microorganisms basically prefer warm and moist areas. That is the reason why the food which contains more water is likely to favor the growth of microorganism and will get spoiled, right? And see that same piece of bread which has grown mold, if it is kept inside the refrigerator, it will survive for longer days and probably will not be spoiled that easily. Why? Because inside the refrigerator your temperature is quite low, and if your temperature is quite low, you know what happens, right? It will not promote the growth of microorganisms. So overall, this whole portion, this whole video basically described the whole classification of your microorganisms. At the end, now you are basically able to know what a bacteria is, what a fungi is, what a protozoa or what an algae is, right?